Now, the Philippines heads into the final stretch of 2025 with a softer growth outlook, weaker sentiment, and a new rate cut from the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. The Monetary Board delivered another 25 basis point easing, bringing the policy rate to 4.5%, as growth risks now outweigh concerns about the peso, with forecasts for 2025 to 2027 revised lower and a widening corruption probe casting a shadow over confidence. Investors are now watching how Malacañang will respond in this critical final stretch. To help us make sense of this moment, we're joined by veteran investment banker and Maharlika Independent Director, CuUnjieng. Hi, Stevie. Good morning, and thanks for being here with us.
Well, thank you for inviting me to your show, and happy to be here in person.
Well, it's always good to hear from you, Stevie. You've got amazing insights. Last time we spoke about a month ago, you said that the Philippines was in a yellow light scenario, referring to that traffic stop. We could turn green, we could turn red any moment, depending on the developments. Where do you see us today, a month after?
We're still in yellow, surprisingly, because first, seasonality is helping that. Nobody really wants to, people want to enjoy and take it easy between now and the end of the year. But what happened between a month ago and now? Nothing. First of all, the people who, or let's say, are unhappy but not unified. You basically have three camps with three conflicting objectives. Mm-hmm. This is the anti-administrations. Mm-hmm. First, one basically says, whether I'm happy or not, the alternative is worse, so let's stay with the situation, unhappy as I am. The second is, I want the vice president to take over. The third is, I don't want either of them to take over. But in that division always helps the incumbent. And so they haven't found a unified message, which if you look at previous in circumstances when things change, the incumbent is relatively stable now.
Yeah.
The second part is, what about what the incumbent is doing? The president has basically shows he's aware of the situation. It's one thing to be an administration in denial. They're not. Now, are the actions they themselves indicate they will take and push through going to be substantial enough, executed to the satisfaction of the people? That also still remains to be seen. So therefore, if you look at the administration side, they still have the power to take the initiative and push the narrative, but it's a work in progress. If you look at the people who are against the administration, they're divided among what they feel is the solution. Yeah. So we still have the situation roughly where it is. So it's still a yellow light. We still don't know if it's turning red or green.
Yeah, I mean, it's December. People are very busy. It's the holidays. They want cheer. You think come January, there's going to be a deeper push for accountability when the holiday season settles? And what would be the sentiment-changing scenarios?
Okay, if I was on the first of all, if I was on the opposition side, my view would be you have to speak with at least I don't say one voice because we're a rambunctious pseudo-democracy, so we never have one voice, but there should be a dominant voice, all right? Right now, there are three equally loud voices. If I was on the administration side, I would basically say, I'm doing something about this, not to perfection, because we live in the real world, but to the satisfaction of enough. Now, what would that be in my view? And I'm not a political analyst, I'm just thinking as a retired investment banker and board director. You have to look backward and forward. The backward is certain people who were responsible for the worst excesses have to be made to pay the price, number one. Because it can't just be lip service, all right? Because if you look at the history, 10, 15 years ago, we were very shocked with Napoles. And here we are.
This one is 10 times over.
Exactly. Yeah. No. So that's the backward-looking part. The forward-looking part is, I'm really tired when people keep saying heads must roll. And I said, what if you rolled ahead with
another one takes over
similar
with a similar agenda?
Which is, again,
what
10 years
today.
ago, what did they say? Napoleon's heads must roll, everything. Where are we 10 years later? No. So my point is, so the looking forward part must show substantive change. Not perfection. We don't live in an ideal world, but substantial change that they'll say, at least the trend of going this way for things getting worse is going to reverse. And all you want is sufficient improvement. Because, again, everywhere in the world, you don't have an ideal situation, but are you trending correctly in a substantial manner, or you are regressing in a substantial manner? I think if the government can show it is trending positively in a substantial manner, people will be satisfied. Then there's a third aspect. If you look at in the past when, let's just say, extra-constitutional change succeeded and failed, it's EDSA 1, EDSA 2, and Halo Garci. Now, also let's assume towards the end of the first Aquino administration, in EDSA 1, whether you agreed or disagreed with which view, there were no limits to the first President Marcos's term.
He was a dictator.
Exactly.
And that was that.
The feeling was, if we don't get a change, he will stay as long as he wants.
Yeah, whereas in this scenario, it's until 2028.
Exactly.
So the idea is, do we ride it out until 2028?
Exactly.
You know, the camps, when you look at the camps, it's do we ride it out until 2028? Do we push Sarah forward? Or do we do away with both of them?
Okay, now, my answer is, for 2 years, given how involved this is going to take, I think the consensus will be, whether we're satisfied or not, just deal with it and tiis na lang. If you look at the first President Aquino, people were very unhappy after the 1989 coup, not because it was her fault, but because, let's be blunt, if you were old enough at that time, the delivery of government services and efficiency was terrible. Mm-hmm. It was abysmal. Mm-hmm. Okay? And if the Ramos administration didn't come in and basically made government effective and competent again, I don't think the democracy would have survived. But people were very unhappy with the way the government was being run. Not that she was corrupt, nothing. I mean, she was the democracy icon, everything, but it was terrible from a government. You had to be here at the time to realize how long the queues were to get on buses, 12-hour brownouts, things like that. Okay, now, why was there no more coup attempt after 1989, after that terrible one in October 1989? Because people said she's not going to run. She's kind of, by mid-1990, when there were no more, there wasn't another coup attempt, everybody just said, she'll be gone in 2 years.
Yeah.
Is it really worth the trouble?
Okay.
We all have our chance in 2 years.
Yeah. Let's bring it back to today. You know, a red flag, Fitch, credit rating agency, one of the big three, says that corruption and instability are now real credit risks. How serious is this warning from a market standpoint? A possible downgrade in our credit rating. We're at BBB now.
Okay. The interesting thing is they said, watch. So in other words, they're saying, do something, it won't happen. Don't do something, it may happen. Not it will, it may. Because credit ratings basically don't say you're a good or bad country. They say you're a good or bad credit risk. Mm-hmm. And generally, the rule for investment grade for a third world country like ours is 60% debt to GDP. Yeah. And we're at 58. Yeah. So we're saying we're fine. Yeah. From a credit fundamental and then from current account, which means how much money is going in versus how much money is going out, because remittances remain stable, we're also fine. Now, having said that, that is something that could change if you have chaos. So what they're saying is, deal with it. If you deal with it, everything will be fine. If you don't deal with it, we'll have to see how it's fine or not fine.
Some changes, yeah. Okay. You know, sayang, because at the beginning of this year, the talk was for an upgrade.
Yes.
And then now the tide has changed so much.
Yeah, let me be blunt. It's still possible because if substantial reforms are implemented and the people are satisfied, yes. Just because they're warning doesn't mean it won't come for 10 years. They'll just say it's addressed, they're lowering the deficit, the debt to GDP ratio is stable, everything, and they'll say fine.
Good point. Okay. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about, both the Fed and the BSP cut interest rates. What's the bigger market signal now?
Actually, I would be watching the Fed because the BSP basically you can only stray so far from the
Yeah.
Fed because you will hurt your exchange rate. And the BSP has a dual function, which this BSP and Monetary Board has been extremely qualified in following, which is low inflation and stable exchange rates. And you look at all the movement, given all the movement politically and noise, hardly anything. It's a rounding error, the movement. So kudos to the central bank and the monetary board, which I'm not affiliated with in any way. I just admire the very steady and mature leadership they're providing. Now, the Fed is the issue. We're going to have a new Fed
That's
chairman
right.
next year.
There is talk in Washington that they're going to be replacing Jerome
No, not the
Powell.
talk. It is certain.
Okay, it's certain. How do you think that's going to change the direction of the U.S. and globally and emerging markets like the Philippines?
It's I would say that's fraught with risk, because if the person is going to follow what the appointing authority, President Trump, wants, it is kind of what most mainstream economists think is not needed at this time, number one. Number two, a lot of times, especially if there's economic uncertainty, putting in a new central bank governor has been accompanied by a crash. Who is the most celebrated central bank Federal Reserve chairman of my lifetime? Alan Greenspan. When was he appointed? 1987. When was there a crash? 1987. Now, he recovered very well from everything, but they tend to basically try to test the new governor. Now, I'll give you another example. The terrible crash in 2008. Bernanke had just become governor. Now, the U.S. was very, very fortunate because there were three things that made 2008 painful as it was remedied. One, you had the former chairman and CEO of Goldman Sachs, Hank Paulson, as Treasury Secretary at the time.
Okay.
You had Bush and Pelosi agreeing to put differences behind for the good of the economy. And Bernanke's dissertation was on the 1929 crash and how to avoid all the repercussions after. So they were in a terrible situation, but they did something very constructive about what could have been a crash and an economic depression. They made it a severe recession, which was not good. Now, are the same three circumstances in place now? Are the Democrats and the Republicans going to cooperate if there's a crash? Is the new central bank governor, chairman, going to be as accomplished as Bernanke, who was uniquely qualified to handle a crash? And is the new Treasury Secretary, the President, have the clout with Wall Street and the markets that Hank Paulson had?
Okay, I'm going to have to stop you right there. It's super tight on time, but I wanted to ask you before we go, what is your wish for the Philippines? As we are in this junction, what is your wish for the Philippines?
I have a very simple wish, which is twofold. Stop thinking in the short term, because we have long-term issues that need long-term solutions that are sustained. And to achieve that, you have solutions which have to transcend administrations. It has to be a consensus. So my biggest wish, can we please depoliticize several issues which are for the good of the country? Education, food security, infrastructure, economic development. Do that have to be political issues that change between administration? If you look at the other Asian countries, they aren't political issues there. And maybe that's why they progress more than us.
Okay.
It continues regardless of who's the premier or the president in those countries.
Yeah. Okay, too bad that's all the time we have for this discussion. CuUnjieng, veteran investment banker, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you for inviting me, and happy holidays to the viewers.
Okay, thank you, Stevie.